Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 379. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden.
Ooh, everything is new. New headphones, new microphone thingy. I don't know if I'm crazy about. Background is a new thing. Gave the wife the nice bookcase that her father made because there were no books on it. So she said, why don't I take that and put some books on it? I'm like, okay. Because you know what? I didn't have a leg to stand on. So yeah, everything is new. Everything
you did
except
not have a book stand to stand on, because if you did,
yes.
it would fall apart.
If I was standing, yeah, it depends on how wobbly it was to start with. But anyway, here I am with my new setup and just ready to make some magic.
Every episode, Charlie, I look like I have a new setup because
I know it's amazing.
I'm in Moe's Tavern right now. So.
Bo's Cavern.
That's right. So we're going to have a journey in this episode to the 1970s, where Charlie and I both were born and largely did not absorb a lot of media because we were really too young, probably watching Sesame Street. But we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. Before we do this, Charlie, oh my God, I picked this cover because I'm like, this is the most like 90s cover ever. So much is going on.
So kitchen
I don't
sink.
know what's going on.
So
Maximum Carnage.
This was Maximum Carnage. This was like it was a 14-part event told across 3 titles.
A simple story. Obviously. I'm using Spider-Man 379. Was this
if I'm not mistaken,
at the time or bi-monthly at the time?
You know, it might have just been monthly, because if it was bi-weekly, the box would have said early July, late July. That was how they positioned that. So, but with 3 titles, it was obviously coming out. 3 out of every 4 weeks, there was a different comic that was publishing. So, so this was this was smack dab in the middle. I read Maximum Carnage not so long ago, and it just really does not hold up. Very cornball writing. I think that's your favorite artist there. That's Mark Bagley, who I know you
Bags.
Yeah, I know, of whom I know you're not a fan, but yeah, this is like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3 of actual comics, because you just got too much going on. Yeah, Venom, Carnage, okay, and Spidey, which is what you'd be expecting from the storyline in general, but Doppelganger, which was a demonic Spider-Man from another dimension.
Which was Doppelganger? I don't even know. Is that the guy with the hood?
No. Doppelganger's the Spider-Man with the 6 arms, but he's a demon.
So Demogoblin
he's choking Spider-Man. The Demi-Goblin was the original Hobgoblin, but during Inferno, he made a deal with Mephisto or whomever was running that deal, and became a demon for whatever it is. And then you got Deathlock in the mix, and Deathlock he was from the future, but it was like he was from 1993. If I'm not mistaken, which is when we
encountered.
Yeah, he came from a comic in the 70s, so it was 20 years in the future. But this comic came out in 1993. This was a summertime deal. So yeah, this was a summer between my junior and senior year in high school, reading comics, still not dating girls, listening to music in my bedroom, watching Star Trek, and reading stuff like this. That was my life.
The bad old days of Marvel, as we could say.
Bad old days of Marvel. You got it to it. So anyhow, one person I should say, who can always tell us about the good and the bad from times of days gone by, that would be our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb, down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. Todd, I think it's time for us to hop in an Uber and go see what she's got going on with Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. I know you got excited when we said we were going to talk about the 70s this week, but unfortunately it's not 1870s. So might be out when they're playing, what is it? Hoop and Stick. And they were talking about those fantastic like picture wheels.
Right. Yeah, yes. The post-war construction and rebuilding of Atlanta.
Where somebody sent some pictures from one of those like big timey cameras with like the cloud of the smoke. Yeah,
Hold still for 10 minutes while I take your picture. Clunk!
And the God! Probably gave you cancer. Yeah, it was a great time.
Oh my goodness! Well, Todd, this is some sad news. Yeah,
it really is.
Joe Quesada, executive and former editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, is leaving. My God. He, talented dude. Became a Marvel editor at the end of the 90s, so kind of in the, talk about post-war construction, that was post-bankruptcy Marvel, was the 1998, and that was post Heroes Reborn Return. It was the beginning of what I thought was, there was a new relaunch of Spider-Man with John Byrne. There was, of course, the Wade Perez Avengers run that I talk about all the time. The X-Men were starting to get their act together at that time, weren't they? I think they were kind of pulling out of the 90s.
Yeah, Joss Whedon was kind of like a big part of that. Like,
Right.
I mean, they had some good runs in the 90s, but when Joss Whedon came on, did Astonishing, and you had Grant Morrison did his run on New X-Men. I mean, there was some cool comics coming out. But yeah, right. I mean, Quesada really, I mean, he kicked it off because he started, I don't know if you remember the Marvel Knights line.
Oh yeah, with Daredevil written by Kevin Smith, and the Punisher. It was like, and Jessica Jones. That's when that character came out. That was around the same thing in 2000, 2001. We got the Ultimate line, so it was Ultimate Avengers, which was really kind of gritty. You had the Ultimate Spider-Man, which dollars for donuts. If you're a new reader, and I said this when Sean Capri was on a couple of weeks ago, I would read that and just stick with that, because those 140 issues of that, so that ran for 12 to 15 years, gave us Miles Morales. That was just, if you can pinpoint a time period where something was really working for Marvel in the last 30 years, I would call it this without a doubt, kind of under his reign. So he's leaving. Yeah. Where is he going?
I don't know if we really got a true, I mean, typically until they're gone, they don't say where they're going. I don't know if it's contractually or whatever, but as of right now, they are not pointing to any future career goals. But I mean, I don't think he's ready to retire. I mean, he's been there for 20 years, though, so maybe he's looking for something new. But he has definitely dipped his toe into more than comics. He's into the creative. He's into the production and consulting for TV and movies. So I could see him being poached maybe by another or like a media company, definitely, to adapt products and IP, because it seems like that's a very valuable ability to do that, especially with Marvel. And I always said, I mean, he was known as primarily an artist. He and Jimmy Palmiotti, they teamed up and did a bunch of different books. I mean, I remember when he did his first big book was The Ray by DC. His art was iconic, really beautiful. Yeah. Then he did a bunch of other comics. He did stuff for Valiant, but then he came in and just really became more of a creative, like you said, Charlie, editor, really came in to really guide Marvel in the right way. And I think without Quesada, we would not have the MCU, because a lot of his ideas formed a lot of the ideas.
The Ultimates, even the Ultimate Spider-Man really, I think, drove Raimi's Spider-Man. I think a lot of those same ideas from that Ultimates Avengers really drove. Right.
And all those storylines. Yeah, I mean, and think about Captain America and the Winter Soldier storyline. Those storylines don't happen unless you get the editorial and publishing team on board to tell really unique stories. And yeah, I mean, so it's phenomenal. I mean, of what he brought Marvel to the table. I mean, coming on, like you said, after they had basically gone into bankruptcy, and then to come on board. Yeah, I mean, congrats, Joe.
I mean, everybody has the right to move on and spread their wings. But yeah, it's the end of an era, so it will be certainly interesting to see kind of what becomes of that, without a doubt. So anyway, speaking of new, changing, crazy stuff, we've got some Deadpool 3 news coming out of the writer's room for that film, which is clearly in production. Of course, Deadpool, famously, the two very raunchy films produced by the Disney Studios in 2016 and 2019, I think. 1 and 2. Now, obviously, the property of Disney. But the writers are saying don't expect Deadpool to be watered down to Disney standards, which I like. So, Todd, you're the X-Men guy, so you go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool was such a interesting creation because he essentially was a no-name when he first appeared. And Liefeld was a big guy that had a hand in creating him. He was the creator of Deadpool, but he wasn't the guy that we know as he is today. That really came from other writers. And the fact that Fox existed and thought this is a good idea, and Ryan Reynolds championed this project, I think he fake dropped like a proof of concept of what Deadpool could be, and it, with the Shoop song and everything like that. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, that this happened, and this is, I think, if this was Disney under its current banner now and Deadpool was pitched, I don't think it would be approved. So the fact that it exists now, and how do you bring that into the MCU? They're committed. It sounds like Disney's committed to making this R-rated. So how do you balance Marvel having more mature properties? Well, I'm glad if they do it, right?
Absolutely. And we had talked about this in weeks past, that with the Netflix Marvel shows, the Daredevil, Punisher, whatever it is, coming over to Disney Plus within the last few months, I remember that day, it's like March 31st. It's like, well, you got to submit your age and, blah, 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 and give it, there's mature content now. And so tick this box and sign this agreement, all the ass covering stuff that they would do to make sure that your 5-year-old is not watching, the Deadpool movie, on Disney Plus, so they realized that, you got to go where the money is. Those films were profitable, and the logic of any sequel is to glom onto the stuff that people loved about the first one, give them more of it, or keep the story continue, and put butts in seats. So Disney is not dumb, even if they're Disney-ish and kind of some of their reputation, whatever it is, they're flexing. So this is them flexing their business acumen to really realize what's what. So you know what? Good for them. Do it. Give us the pantheon of stuff, because there is no entertainment that's one size fits all. Not everything's going to be the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah, and Sean Levy is coming on to be a director to direct Deadpool 3. He and Ryan Reynolds did Free Guy together, so that's pretty cool. Now, Charlie, I'm going to pitch an idea. What if we say there is a Earth, but it is the mature Marvel Earth, and this is where Deadpool exists? The multiverse of the mature
multiverse. Yeah, because it never even really seemed, because the Deadpool Earth, as it were, the universe would always seem very tongue in cheek. So it didn't really seem that it took place in any. Even in Fox X-Men dimension, it didn't really seem like it took place there. So
it was always tongue in cheek when it was like with Colossus, and when they try to play in that universe, it always felt like it was disconnected or not really connected.
Right? Because again, it's played for laughs. So it's going to be funny.
Where they go. I mean, if this works and Deadpool is connected to the X-Men in that case, I think allowing Deadpool to kind of be that like wacky fourth wall, kind of maybe just letting him explain how the X-Men come into the MCU would be absolutely hilarious. It's just and this is how it was done, and he draws with those little Crayolas and the pictures.
Yeah.
It's like,
I like it. Make it so anyway, I would imagine this is in production, and we would see this no sooner than a year from now, if it's we're talking writing room. So 2024 is kind of the odds. I'm like, unless this,
I'm glad it's not going to be otherwise. Like, when we're moving Deadpool, it's going to be a series on Hulu on
Netflix. Yeah, please, yeah. Deadpool definitely works good in those. It's like the relatives that you can always take in small doses, or as we get older, we love to spend time with our parents in small doses. That's pretty
like perfect. Peacemaker kind of took that and did 6 episodes, but it was kind of constantly someone was pointing out how dumb Peacemaker was, or people commenting it. Deadpool doesn't have really that person, but I could definitely see him. I mean, who would you like to see Deadpool team up with, Charlie, before we transition on the next story from the MCU?
I mean, he's in the comics, and there have been ongoing series. Him and Spider-Man really clicked. Who would be great with him to team up with? I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I enjoyed reading those Deadpool Spider-Man comics, those series. So I think that would be kind of neat, but it would have to be tongue in cheek in kind of the same fashion. But who's really tongue in cheeky in the?
I think you team up with Captain Marvel. I think
there
somebody
you
that
go.
would not tolerate any crap.
Right.
But you could destroy him and
okay.
he'd come back, right? He'd just grow a new limb.
Yeah, right. He can be blown in half. He can be just a head. He can be just
Exactly.
a head. That's amazing.
Or like
So,
Vision, maybe. Vision comes back, like personalityless Vision in Deadpool. That'd be pretty funny too.
there you go. To boy, talk about an Odd Couple, sitcom for the ages. My goodness. Well, anyway, moving on. Todd, you and I, because we were a year apart, so you were in high school at the same time that I was, but you will remember on MTV when they were dipping their toe into not just showing mindless music videos, and they gave us animated programming for the first time. We got Daria, we got the
Liquid Television,
Eon Flux later on, but first and foremost, if I remember my time frame correctly, was Beavis and Butthead. Yes, this dropped in 1992, 93, and I think they were short. Were they shorts? I mean, it was a show about nothing show. Regardless.
It was a TV show, and they would put those. They would watch videos, and that would be part of it. And they would have like weird storylines, like they'd go and do weird things. Yeah.
That sounds about right. So this went on like I said, this came out in 92, or maybe 93, 94. So this dragged on for 3 or 4 years until they had a feature film, Beavis and Butthead Do America, where they were, it was a road trip thing with a biker gang and blah, blah, blah. And I can't even believe I remember that much about it. But yeah, there's going to be a film, yay, direct to video, yay. So and this is going to be on Paramount Plus, awesome. And I love Paramount Plus, obviously being the home of Star Trek. I think this is fitting. So the film picks up in 1998, just as our duo are sent to space camp, which kicks off a series of events that lead them onto the space shuttle, and what the trailer describes as the dumbest science fiction film ever made. Well, that sums it right up. I don't know how this would be appealing to anyone but Gen Xers like ourselves. I don't know. Do you think there's modern audience for this? Then again, Gen Xers like ourselves are the people that subscribe to Paramount Plus because they have all the CBS stuff, right? Well, I guess they'd be a little bit older than us.
Yeah, yes. I mean, who can't get enough of that?
Oh my God! But anyway, quite a cast: Tig Notaro, Gary Cole, Chai McBride, Stephen Root, Jimmy O Yang, Martin Starr. So you got some voice talent. You got some comedic talent in the mix. Plus, I love Tig; she's great on Star Trek. But I mean, I don't know. I will certainly, for the member berries, for the nostalgia, I'll be tuning into this. And this is on June 23. So it's just on in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm in. It's dumb. Todd, did you find yourself watching much of this back in high school?
Beavis and Butthead was kind of a phenomenon in the, like you said, 92, 93. I was going to college. This was something we watched weekly in the dorm. It was dumb, stupid fun. Mike Judge, I mean, that's just how we became famous. Did Office Space after this, did King of the Hill. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised it's coming back, but you know what? What do we love, Charlie? Bring back
member berries
because we're nostalgic, exactly.
Right.
So
well, and again, we've reached the age where they know that there's still plenty of us that are going to be like, oh man, I love Top Gun. Oh man, I loved Jurassic Park again. Even though they've continued to make those movies. Yeah. But yeah, it's like you're right. It's like they're going down the list. What else can we resurrect? Let's bring back Coming to America, which they did. Which they did. Well, exactly.
90210. They brought back.
Yeah.
I mean, they bring back everything.
Yeah, it's not exclusively that there's no new ideas, because there's definitely original stuff that's coming out that's different. Stranger Things, which we're going to talk about later on, is new, but again, it's retro because everybody loves the 80s. Well, again, the 90s really even, how fashion is cyclical now. Apparently, fashion from the 2000s is coming back as fashion goes in about a 20-year window. So, yeah, I know. Yikes. But again, you and I were, legal ass adults by the time the early 2000s, so we had no fashion. We were probably just you were in the Air Force, so that was what you were wearing.
Yeah, I had very little to worry about with business casual, but I would say with Beavis and Butthead, at least they were kind of like that dumb like metalhead, but they were always a commenter on what was going on. So it's almost they're that entity that was not afraid to say the idiocy that was going on.
Right.
And this one is weird because it says it's taking place in 1998. So that's an odd take. Going to 98. I would like to see Beavis and Butthead's take on now, not 98.
Right. Well, potentially, if this was hugely successful, maybe it's like, and now Beavis and Butthead are in 2025, and here's what they're like as adults, still living in a trailer, shitty apartment or a trailer park because they never.
Well, they did show some odd like multiverse things going on where the Watchers show up that look just like Beavis and Butthead. So maybe we'll get them doing the time travel.
Get a little taste. All right.
Times.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool. I think they can make that work. So anyway, yes, I will watch this. They've got me. It'll be stupid, but much like with everything, when you have ADD, I'm watching it, but I'm also, putting content on SFU and looking at my phone and chatting with 50 different people. So it's good that it's not going to be in the theaters because that might be painful.
Yeah, and it's only 2 hours long. It's a movie,
right.
So it's not like they have to worry about it, staying too long.
Right, exactly correct. So, okay, I will let you take this next one because I'm kind of, but I don't know. I know that you enjoy the whole this kind of scene, so you go right ahead.
Yeah, so there's this thing now where we've seen this. At least I've entered this realm of. I saw Harry Potter, I believe, and the Goblet of Fire, and they basically took an orchestra, and they were performing the score behind the movie, showing to a large crowd.
Okay, there you go.
It was very, very cool. And I enjoyed it heavily because when you're there and you're hearing like the actual like instruments playing that score, it just feels like a theatrical, almost like where you're at the actual musical theater, like on Broadway or something. Hearing something dramatic, but also with something familiar with on screen.
Legitimate theater. So, and I would imagine it would be a somewhat difficult balance to make sure that your audio levels are synchronized. So it's not not drumming it out.
Yeah, so this story is really all about how DC is dipping into this well and is going to do the same thing with their movies. And I believe The Lord of the Rings has also done the same thing. Okay. So Warner Brothers, so you can kind of see Warner Brothers, with Harry Potter, The Lord of the Rings, and now this, kind of a big deal. They announced that they're going to this entertainment company called TCG is partnering with DC to do these global touring film concert series. And as of right now, they're apparently going to do The Batman, Justice League, Black Adam, and The Flash.
Well, it says I'm scrolled further, and it says Shazam, the sequel, the Aquaman sequel, and then The Flash. But it does mention Tim Burton's Batman. Now that I would go see. Because it's exactly. It's na 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 na. It was it's the most iconic Batman score after na 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 Batman. You know what I'm saying? Even though I liked from the Nolan built Batman, I like that theme as well, but nothing will ever surpass. I think the Tim Burton. The Danny Elfman score from that 89 film, because we then saw it a couple of years later in the animated series, which introduced Batman to really an entire generation 5 days a week. Which that's another series. Part and parcel, I'm sure I've seen all of it, but it's one of those like, man, I got to sit down and watch this again, and I just never get around to it. So, but it's awesome. It's like I said, it's very iconic, and for anyone who enjoyed that film, it's pretty academic, I would say. But yeah, that would be the one. I just don't know. I don't know if I can enjoy this format for something I'm seeing for the first time. I feel like it might have a distraction factor that might be a little too much. But for something, like that Tim Burton Batman, I think that would click for me because I'm so familiar with it, and it might serve to enhance something that I'm already very fond of.
I wouldn't see this. I wouldn't see this in the movie I've never seen before.
Yeah,
that would be a little distracting, like you said.
But that's exactly what they're proposing here because they did
it with the Joker, which I was not aware of. They did it with the Joker, and apparently this person even points out that they did a live performance with an old film, Psycho. Back in 2010, which I'm like, that's pretty cool because it has a very. So I mean, this is something not for everybody, but for some people who like a different experience. With a movie, like we said, this could be very cool. Avengers could do this. Other franchises, Star Wars, definitely. If it's John Williams, definitely could be something that could happen as well. So it's coming. Apparently, they'll announce dates later this year. But that's very, very cool. I was going to have another story, Charlie, but basically someone's creating almost like an escape room with DC properties. I'm like, that could be fun too. So I like taking the properties and doing more with them than just on the screen or thing and making them more interactive. Like this could be a cool new way to enjoy properties you love.
Right. Very cool. All right. Well, moving on, we have to wrap things up, unless I didn't have all the windows open. Yes, to wrap things up, we have a very tongue-in-cheek, basically fantasy night take from Joey King, who I've seen, and she's kind of up and coming. I remember her from that god awful Independence Day sequel. She was in that.
Oh,
that's like the thing I can think
An annoying
of.
kid?
Yeah, as an annoying kid, yeah, because that was back
perfect.
in 2016. So yeah, it's wonderful. But because that film was rife for annoying kids. But she was in The Act in the Kissing Booth. Clearly not my demo, but she's starring as the eponymous royal daughter, betrothed against her will to a sadistic and thoroughly unsuitable match, and locked in a tower within her father's castle for troublemaking ways. And that's when she just decides to go buck nuts and whoop some ass, which is what happens in this trailer.
It's a great trailer.
This is just nuts. This is a Hulu original, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And we're getting this on July 1st weekend. I have that whole. I love the first week of July for a lot of different reasons. My anniversary is July 5. It'll be 8 years for April and I this year, 9 years together. It's very exciting. Love July 4th. We always have a nice big July 4th party here at the house. And we also have a list of films that we like to watch that are kind of July 4th centric. I don't think this is going to fall onto it, but also this year I took that whole week off, so we might do something fun, like we might go to the UP or at least spend some time at the beach or something. So I love that first week in July. It's probably one of my favorite times of the year. Plus, Todd, as you know, there are few things in the Midwest in particular that beat a Michigan summer. We have it all. So there, plug, Pure Michigan. You know what? Ditch Tim the Tool Man and send me that money.
Yeah, I mean, this is perfect timing. Holiday weekend, people can watch this thing, and I think it's fun because it is basically turning the narrative of a princess that needs to be rescued, and it is kind of funny because Dominic Cooper, we know as being heroic and things like that, he's the bad prince that wants to marry the princess against her wishes, and this should be a lot of fun. Just that one scene where she's jumping over the balcony on that one guy.
Oh, he tackles a dude and goes down like 10 stories. Yeah, that was a gamble. So, but anyway, it looks very tongue in cheek. And she's like, "You effed with the wrong princess," and she's kicking and stabbing. And I'm like, I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah, and Hulu's getting some movies that aren't tied to like other Disney properties or things like that. That's great. I love seeing new things that are they look like it's going to be fun. So we'll see when this is coming out, and I'm sure it'll be something we'll talk about in the future.
Indeed we shall. Well, with that, we take a wrap on the news, say goodbye to Madam Webb, but it is time. I did install the app last week so we can get the Scug Uber down to Nasty Town. That's right. We're going to the Geek Easy, talk a little bit about stuff we're enjoying. So let's go now.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
Sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. Charlie, so much new TV. Whether you're on Disney, Amazon Prime, in the theater, or Netflix. Anything else I missed? Oh, Paramount Plus.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Every service. Yeah.
There you go.
So where do you want to kick off? The Boys?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so The Boys is back since, the last episode's aired at the end of 2020. I think in fall of 2020 is when we had season 2. This show is nuts. Now, we talked about it back then. I was a little over a year late to the game, and then I thought, we'll try this, and we just started watching. It's just completely insane. It's the series, if you're not familiar with it, is what if the Justice League were a bunch of sociopathic murderous dipshits? That's The Boys. So yeah, you've got Homelander, who is the worst of the worst of Superman, and this, an evil corporation, Vought, and this group of unpowered people that are committed to taking them down. So yeah, so we're starting season 3. We're finding out that our group is divided.
It's a year later, right?
A year later. Huey, who was played by the awesome, Jack Quaid. I was going to say Jack Ryan. He's not Jack Ryan. Meg Ryan is his mom. Either. He's not Jack Reacher. Jack Quaid, whom I've met on stage in Chicago, is now working with a congresswoman who we find out right away is actually the big bad.
Spoilers, everyone.
Spoilers, everyone. We did actually find out at the end of last season she was the big bad that was making people's heads blow up.
That's true.
Yeah, we did find that out. But that is then discovered in episode 2 by Huey, and in a confrontation that he stumbles upon with her. So now he's kind of finding out that his whole life is a fraud. He is hooked up with Starlight, but then Starlight is kind of moving up in the Seven politically, and Homelander just starts to fucking unravel. I mean, his girlfriend was the Nazi Stormfront. I think it was
Stormlight.
No, I think it was Stormfront.
No, you're right. Stormfront.
Yeah, it's Starlight. I don't know, whatever it is. But anyway, yeah, she was a closet Nazi. She was crippled at the end of the last season.
For some reason, I didn't realize she actually survived.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's a stump. She's Anakin. She, at the end of this, she's all melted.
One
and shit,
eye, one arm.
Yeah, it's still with a hand that she can, in one scene she can jerk him
no
off.
hand gestures.
Oh my God.
No hand gestures.
Sorry,
the show requires no. We don't have to add anything to the imagination because
when you have an opening segment where that has a coked out Ant-Man character who unfortunately explodes someone else.
Nope.
Not saying anymore. This show is. Yeah, April and I are watching. It's a lot of oh God, ooh,
yeah,
no,
it's definitely, yeah. I mean, it's there's just really, I mean, after a while, it's like, oh God, it's just gore. I mean, it's a lot of gore porn, which I'm like, ooh, that's rough. That's. Ooh,
I mean, yeah, I for sure still enjoy the show, but it is kind of becoming gore for gore's sake, and I don't know that I'm crazy about that.
this because this is almost like
right.
I mean, if to rate it, it's on like a streaming service, but to rate this as like a movie, sometimes for violence, even like NC-17, it just seems really.
It's a bit
bad.
out there.
Yeah, I like the show a lot, but I'm like, ooh, I cringe at times. I'm like, ooh.
I know, like I said, in the same thing with us. So anyway, the first 3 episodes dropped on Friday. We're recording this on a Sunday, and I think it's a Friday drop, and it'll be a single episode every time. And I would imagine the prior seasons were 8 episodes, 8 or 10. So we'll be knocking this out for a good portion of the rest of the summer. So anyway, tune in, Amazon Prime. You probably have it anyway because it comes along with Amazon Prime Unlimited, and who the hell doesn't have that, for God's sakes?
Yeah, I mean, every time I think I know where they're going, they go elsewhere, and it's pretty rough. Although I will say, I'm partway through 3, and I like the fact they're bringing in Soldier Boy. And kind of looking at kind of the original origins of Vought and things like that too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I really like
they're needing a prequel using flashbacks in a fashion.
Yeah, and they flashback to Nicaragua in the early 80s and stuff, and just show. Yeah, I thought that was. And you learn the origin of Black Noir and why he wears masks. Yeah, all great.
That was surprising because I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty cool. So
we see the young founder as well.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Good stuff. Yeah, but finish up watching that. And again, that drops Fridays on Amazon Prime. But real quick, because Todd, I don't know how far along you are. Doesn't sound like you're a big fan of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show over.
I'm caught up. I'm caught up.
But it's not knocking your socks off. And Todd, we've had this debate time and again. Star Wars, not your top tier. You're not a crazy wild fan. It seems to kind of let you down in the flavor department.
Specifically, anything before the original trilogy. Anything before that, I feel like it's just like, who cares? And this one is definitely, it's predictable. This is a very predictable show. Kind of where they're going. And we know he's going to Obi-Wan Kenobi. We know where he's going. And they're bringing characters from the Clone Wars, which unfortunately, when it comes to those characters from the Clone Wars, it's like we get to the original trilogy and guess what? All those cool things are not there. So it kind of feels like, you got all these cool tools and none of them are used. I kind of feel like, are they going to explain why none of the cool stuff is in the original trilogy, like the Inquisitors, all these extra soldiers and things? It just feels like adding those things adds no value to the original trilogy because it feels like the Empire was like, it's a bunch of stormtroopers and that's it.
And thank you for coming to Todd's TED Talk about Star Wars. But I digress. I know. I understand. But for those of us who are a little more forgiving of such, Mark, myself, April, other people, we're Katie, who's joining us for Do a Show tomorrow. We've enjoyed it very much. However, I will concede to the point that you're right. The stakes are low. He's going to live. You know Leia's going to live. You know Vader's going to live. So the only real stakes are the consequences of what's going to happen with the new characters. Reva, who's one of the Inquisitors, she apparently killed the Grand Inquisitor, but he's not really dead because he's in Rebels, which is 8 years after this. And so yeah, you're right. I get you that it's like the stakes are, we've talked about this before with not only Star Wars but obviously other franchises. When you go back and do a prequel, your stakeholder level is way low if you're playing with a younger version of the same character. So I got you. I suppose the argument could be made for the other thing I'm going to talk about, which is Strange New Worlds, because you've got Spock in it, played by the third, and I think second to Leonard Nimoy, because I was never thrilled with Zachary Quinto's portrayal of the character in the JJ movies. But I would say without a doubt, Anson Mount, has expanded upon the Captain Pike character, which was only really seen in two forms in the original series: the pilot, which never aired, so people saw it for the first time in the 1980s, and then portrayed by a different actor who is in a chair, who can only respond one beep for yes, two beeps for no. So it wasn't really acting. So Anson Mount is a great actor. He's done a great job with the character, working on the hair, but because he's a favorite of mine to cosplay. But yeah, we had another great episode this week, which you've not seen, but it was a little bit more tongue in cheek. It was about Spock and his girlfriend, who is T'Pring, who you end up seeing in the Amok Time episode of the original series, where he goes through Ponfar. He's got to fight Kirk with the Lurpas, and it's got that dun 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 bum 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 bum. You know the music I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I find
you should put that with an orchestra.
Oh my God! Yeah, watch Star Trek with the original orchestra. I find the Spock and T'Pring stuff kind of vaguely annoying because, again, Vulcan's made every 7 years, and they don't really seem to have relationships in between. So it's not like, if you're not married to someone, we made it for the first time because I was going through Ponfar, and so they're kind of stepping around this. But again, with everything with this show, they're still finding ways to take tropes and make updates to the original series in a way that has been the best of New Trek for me. Katie over, my co-host on Code 47 has given me a great new appreciation for Lower Decks, which is nothing like this because it's very satirical, it's animated, but this is the best of what they've done, particularly coming off of such a disappointing season of Picard, in my opinion. If you loved it, at me over on Twitter at the C3. Tell me why you love Picard season 2, because we sure didn't. But this show is nailing it. So Todd, I encourage you to get caught up. This was a fun episode, and gave us a new uniform. We got an updated version of Kirk's.
More uniforms.
Uniform. Well, it was. This one is fair because
being a former member of the military, we got one uniform every 20 years.
Right, but you did have different ones for different occasions. Correct.
But we didn't get new versions of those every year. We had one service dress, one mess dress, and that was good for 20 to 30 years.
Right.
Not like, it's a new episode.
At any rate, this was actually an updating of something from the original series. Captain Kirk had kind of the wraparound that was an olive green. They updated that, and it's beautiful. And I can't wait for my customer to crank one out because I want one. You know what I mean? It's a good.
Those are horrible.
But this, I'm telling you, it absolutely.
I saw Pike in it, and I'm like, yeah, that looks lame.
Come on, the original. I didn't like the original because with Shatner, he was a little too built like a normal person, so it was a little too tight.
Charlie, it's a dumb look. It is it's not a good look. It's not a good look. It looks like a onesie. It's not a onesie, but it's a bad look.
Agree to disagree. Anyway, that's
fine, but that's me looking at military uniform. That looks like a horrible look compared to some of the other ones they do.
You don't really think that your commanding officer, Colonel What's His Butt, would have been wearing one of those?
No, because they're just ridiculous. But, well.
I understand.
I did want to say in Obi-Wan Kenobi, I have one question about that. One problem I have with that series is if he's expected to protect Luke, why is he sad sack and not training? Why is he not ripped, not in good shape?
You know what?
Not attached to the Force.
Well,
I get it.
He's right.
Because he's got to protect someone from anything. And he's beyond just shooting a laser beam, he's just not very in a good shape to do anything.
I would say that he is clinically depressed, honest to God, which is very human.
I get it. But
And I
he has
think
pledged
that's
to protect
it.
Luke, so I would be so solo focused on this is what I got to do. I'm
But
not going
it-
to look at the rest of the stuff.
I would say he's clinically depressed. He's also focused on not getting caught. Okay, because
He's in his
look,
cave and he can work out. He can CrossFit.
you,
Charlie.
you think that he could have a montage?
I think
Maybe
so.
maybe he'll
Thor
go
got
back to
fat, and we see
he'll,
the montage.
he'll go back to Tatooine, and he'll have like he'll have a Rocky IV style montage.
Obi-Wan is Unforgiven for Star Wars, and to me, it's an old story that, unfortunately, this is not a new twist on it. It feels like he's eventually going to come back, and we know what Vader's doing. He is playing with Obi-Wan, getting Tim to come out and torture him some more. So I feel like this one is just, unless they use something else in Flim Flam, I know exactly where this is going, which is essentially back to status quo. Luke and Leia are not detected by Vader. Yeah.
And scene. Todd, let's move on. Why don't you tell us about what you've been enjoying?
I did wrap up Discovery, just let you know. I enjoyed. Okay. So I still enjoy Discovery, but I really think that show needs a new focus, not being story of a long story arc. I think they need to really reevaluate their focus on the crew.
And do some more Star Trek-y kind of stuff. I agree with you.
Well, I think, and they've just got to get off this Burnham solves every mystery. You can't just have your captain be the answer to everything. Picard was that way. Kirk was that way.
Kirk was that way, right?
But that was not But you didn't see Janeway do that. You didn't see, the other captains. I just think it's a bad trait in a bad story.
The thing I struggle with Discovery is kind of the forced, the shoehorning in of the bridge crew this season in particular, and now Commander Bryce is going to have some lines, and now Owasakin is going to have some lines, where before they were background bridge characters. It wasn't like the TNG cast where here's a Riker episode, here's a Troy episode, here's a Crusher episode, because they were all co-starring characters, where these guys just aren't. So yeah, I agree with you. But anyway,
they need to work on that. Yeah, they need to work on that and have them have standalone episodes and not just be like, to your point, Charlie. They have a breakthrough for 2 seconds and then we're moving on.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Speaking of moving on, what do you got?
Bob's Burgers movies. Saw that last weekend. This is a movie for Bob's Burgers fans. If you do not like Bob's Burgers, this movie will not change your mindset, but it is a 90-minute Bob's Burgers episode. It's very similar to The Simpsons. I would say it's very much in that lens about basically better animation, better budget, and expanding one storyline. And that's really all it was. But they expanded and made it more of a musical, which was very fun. The voice talent was great and just really enjoyed it. I don't know what else to say. Bob's Burgers was a blast. I don't know when this is coming to a streaming service. Most likely it's coming to Hulu because that's where it lives now. So maybe 45 days because apparently that's the new Disney thing, Charlie. Doctor Strange is 45 days later. It used to be 90. So
if you really think about it, and especially with summer films, let's look at it. And I had just shared early box office stuff with you. The Tom Cruise movie, Top Gun has pitched up, but in a lot of ways it's peaked because Jurassic World Dominion comes out next weekend, which will make the Top Gun movies go into the toilet. So there has to be a point after that 6-week period where the studio says, now let's get it out to the streamers, get some more eyeballs on it, and then we can see if that will, maybe we can add some streaming numbers that way. I would have to imagine, or sticking advertisements in between it for people who have packages that don't have ads or something. So as opposed to keeping it in the theaters where they could roll out something else or make
6 weeks is essentially all a movie makes at the theater.
It's a lifeline.
Unless you're Morbius.
Exactly correct. Right. Oh God. Yeah. There's a new story we didn't touch. They Sony decided to drop Morbius again, and it flopped again, which is terrific.
The internet meme of morbing and all that stuff was just ridiculous.
Well, that was over on the Weekly Planet. They called it Monthbius because it was a month of Morbius. It was very
Mabius, Marbius, with March. Yeah. So you know what? It's like snakes on a plane. Sometimes those things just don't deliver, and it's just a meme. So that's
delivery.
Bob's Burgers probably going to be on Hulu in probably 45 days. So
I had to ask April about that because we were trying to find a movie to go to on Friday night because we just wanted to get out of the house. And I was telling you and John, we went to go see a subtitled French film about the dude who built the Eiffel Tower, it was fine. It was fine, but yeah, one of the other choice was Bob's Burger. And she's like, I think I know it, but I just don't think so. So we didn't go. But I mean, I'll watch it on Hulu because I enjoy Bob's Burgers.
There
But
probably weren't many songs about burgers in your movie, Charlie, but that's okay. It's your
no,
loss.
they were drinking espresso and wine, and there was some boobs in there, so I was perfectly satisfied.
Okay, well, very nice. Well, and then lastly, Stranger Things season 4 has come out. It's dropping in 2 parts, essentially. I believe back in July we'll get the second half. The first half is like 8 episodes. Is that right?
7.
7 episodes. So I've watched through 3. Are you done with 7 then, Charlie?
We finished it because it's funny. I was telling you and John, I said we can only watch that show first thing in the morning before the sun comes up or at night when the sun's gone down because it is so dark and our TV sits opposite to 2 windows on the back wall that the glare is bad during the day and that show is so dark. But yeah, we finished it early this morning.
Got it. So yeah, you do need because I mean it's upside down, it's dark, it's scary. It's like
sure, but even because it's in the 80s, even when somebody's inside, it's all that. It's the 80s, all the wood paneling and stuff and low lights. So it's just like
neon lights.
Going on? Yeah. So yeah, totally.
So it's we're basically I think a year later from the last season where we basically have now established multiple groups. We've got the one family living in California with 11 there to kind of establish a new life. And then we've got the other team here, basically in the old town. And the teens are growing up and the story is getting more mature as we get it. And just there's a lot of collateral damage with what happened. And, 11 doesn't have powers. And, Billy died. And people are dealing with real problems. And we obviously know where Hopper is in Russia. Right. So, I'm through episode 3, so I can't really divulge much more than that. But it just feels like we're giving characters time to grow and explore different relationships. And I like the fact that they're finally embracing the fact that 11 isn't a normal person. And she's just not going to be able to adapt to a normal team, which I think is interesting. And another thing I appreciate about this show is that they embrace and they don't really make 80s clothes look good anymore. They show how bad they looked. Because if you looked at Mike, when he shows up in California with that bad neon hat, the floppy clothes, he looks horrible. Everybody looked horrible back then.
That Finn Wolfhard, because I even saw him in the Ghostbusters film, he is going through like a later teen awkward phase. His face looks super different between the 2 projects. His face is very pointed. He's very skinny, but he just is
he looks like a rock star, Charlie.
He's very the heroin chic. Yeah, he's very heroin chic.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's going to be a rock star at this point. Right. Yeah, but yeah, and then I will say this: I don't know what the hell they're doing, but with Will's hair, please give Will a better haircut. You
don't like him with the Dorothy Hamill. You don't think that's working out?
Nobody had that. No boys had the haircut in the 80s, especially in high school. And if they did, they would be Will.
Oh my goodness, it's tough stuff.
Yeah, it's fun though. I love it. I love the fact that it's just a great show. I love Stranger Things, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not in your face. Like there's 85 spinoffs. It comes out once every. This has been a long time coming, and
3 years.
One more season. Yeah. And I'm glad they're breaking it up because I feel like we said, Netflix drops everything, and it's like, I move on, and I don't remember what happened on Netflix 3 months, from now. So I'm glad they're giving us some time to breathe so I can catch up, because dropping 8 episodes that are that long and to be up to speed is it's asking a lot for people in their time.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Give us, and thank God for the recap. So anyhow, that's it. That's it for the Geek Easy. Time to skip out on the tab. Once again, I can't believe they still let us in here. But I got to get the Air Qantas app. We got to get down to the land down under. That's right. The mutants are waiting for us. It's time for the Thunderdome.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week we are going back to the 70s. Yeah, that's right, folks. It's your Geeks guide to the 70s. We did this a few weeks ago with the 60s, and now we're revisiting the 70s. The 70s, were an interesting place for genre because
Mhm.
you essentially got better budgets. You were in color for the most part, and then you got essentially franchises started existing in the 70s, and you got
Right.
more things that catered to younger people, because back in
Mhm.
the kids were kind of not considered
Consumers,
a
as it were? Yeah.
consumer, yeah, pushing the envelope, because they basically children should be seen and not heard. So that changed though after a certain generation.
Right. The turbulent 60s. Oh, the hippies. But
Yeah,
let's
so
kick
we're
it
gonna
off.
break this down,
Yeah,
Charlie.
let's
Yeah,
kick it
because
off.
we're gonna talk through a couple different categories. We're gonna do sci-fi
Right.
movies, horror. So I'll put those together actually, because it's
All right.
basically horror and sci-fi.
Uh-huh.
TV, toys, and cartoons. We kind of hit
Oh my
that's hitting
goodness.
all the bases for the genre and the geeky stuff that we love.
Right.
So the sci-fi movies, we started getting more sophisticated science fiction. It wasn't just like weird monsters and rubber suits, and that's all you
Right.
got. We got some budgets, we got some cool special effects, and and I'm gonna list. We've got from Ranker. Thank you, Ranker. We've got the top 25, but we're gonna go through these fairly quick for sci-fi TV, and it's a mixed
Okay.
bag because there's some things that, which is funny because I don't even consider them, but quite honestly, we'll start it. I'll start with 26, Charlie.
All
Up
right.
to
Work it backwards. Okay.
this is a weird science fiction show that they were synonymous by. They were like in the far future, were like these costumes, almost like uniforms, and they rode in basically a sci-fi RV. That's all it
Oh
was.
my god. I love it. It wasn't that the precursor to Spaceballs? Oh my
It
goodness.
could have been, yeah. I mean, then one of my favorites, Battle of the Planets. This was an
Oh yeah,
animated
big time.
show that came to the U.S. I loved it. I watched it in syndication growing up as a kid. So that was where we started getting
Mhm.
more animation from overseas, and animation started really taking over kids' lives. And it just wasn't the worst Hanna-Barbera cartoon like Shazam,
Well,
as we talked about.
the near worst Shazam, right? The near worst slash best cartoon that I love that doesn't hold up, but something that really introduced me to superheroes, which is fun because I'm a Marvel guy, was the Challenge of the Super Friends in
Oh yeah,
1978. So this really gave us, Superman, Batman, Robin, Lex Luthor, and Gorilla Grodd and Solomon Grundy, and a lot of these guys kind of all up in your business. So I love that, but again, don't really feel like much like any cartoon from back then, just does not really hold up. But at the time, and again, it spilled into the 80s when I remember actually watching it. I just thought it was superb and got me kind of warmed up to the whole superhero concept, even though Marvel just ended up being more of my thing. And Marvel was not really blowing the doors off at this point because it was till the 80s that we got Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And that was the one I dug.
Yeah, it was I loved that cartoon. It was great because it brought in more superheroes. So definitely, and much better than the Super Friends. So I will put it that way. But then we got Mork and Mindy, Charlie. Mork and Mindy was a sitcom, a spinoff of Happy Days, but sci-fi oriented with Robin Williams. It was really his debut, and it really wasn't more than just a sitcom, but still fun, goofy and science fiction based. So I'll take it.
Right.
Why not?
Totally fun.
Blake Seven. Is that a series you've ever heard of?
Blake Seven? How
Blake
far up?
Seven. Yeah, Blake Seven. It's a British science fiction television series produced by the BBC. 13-episode series. Apparently, it's got created by Terry Nation, who created the Daleks for Doctor Who. So it's supposed to be one of the better science fiction shows of that era.
As opposed to the ongoing Doctor Who, which obviously continued on through the 70s until today, like Star Trek. But yeah, moving further up the list, Land of the Lost. Now this got a revival of sorts in the mid-aughts. I think wasn't that a Will Ferrell project?
Yeah, it was. It was just supposed to be like the goof, like the Brady Bunch version of Land of the Lost. But I love that series. I think it was a crop show, Charlie. And basically
the Sleet Stacks, and they found it was like the
Slam and theme song too.
Yeah, and
Will and Holly,
and they found the
expedition. Yeah, and goofy like claymation dinosaurs. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, they found essentially the Savage Land under a patch of grass or whatever it was. I don't know that I've ever seen anything but a clip here and there. But yeah. A classic for the ages of his time. Something that was not a classic of the ages for the time, and this was thoroughly dissected on an episode of Code 47, is the animated Star Trek series, which aired in 1973 and 1974. Wow, precursor to Filmation's He-Man as far as the artwork style, even though they had some great writers that came back. I think Harlan Ellison came back. I know that DC Fontana was part of it. David Gerard wrote a sequel to Trouble with Tribbles.
Unlimited budget, Charlie.
Unlimited budget that they spent on coke, because that's what, or weed.
3 frames of animation.
Right. It was, that's what wrecked it. They had some decent stories, but yeah. Sure. But not good stuff. But what was great stuff is a pre-Dallas Patrick Duffy and the Man from Atlantis. My God.
They couldn't get Aquaman rights.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, it was just exactly that. And again, Todd, this list you gave me, I'm just riffing off it because there's no information. But I remember the show being exactly as it described. I think doesn't he kind of find his way into the modern world, and he's trying to navigate that and so on and so forth. So
only surviving citizen of Atlantis, Charlie. He possessed exceptional abilities, including the ability to breathe underwater. Yes. He was found and recruited by the Foundation for Oceanic Research. There you go, Charlie. Yeah, one I wanted to touch on really quickly was Night Gallery. So Night Gallery was a spin-off. Essentially, Rod Serling, who created The Twilight Zone, created Night Gallery for the 70s. It was, once again, telling more anthology tales. Very cool show. If you get a chance to watch it on Channel 20. Night Gallery, once again, leading into better value, better production values and more of those classic tales, just not as well known. But what was a cool franchise, Charlie, in the 70s was the Bionics franchise.
Yeah, the $6 million man and the Bionic Woman. Yeah, so Lindsay Wagner and the iconic Lee Majors was obviously $6 million man. But yeah, it was a dude who was in a horrible car accident or something. And then it coined the phrase that we can rebuild him. We have the technology. And $6 million was a lot of money in 1973, where now it's like $6 million, meh. But yeah, no, they turned him into this bionic dude. Same kind of thing happened to her. And then he became a crime fighter, secret agent, whatever it is. And yeah, that's a series that ran for at least a few seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm not looking at it, but I feel like it was on for a while. But yeah, that the Bionic Woman, of course, the woman follows the man in 70s parlance, was the spinoff. But both were very successful network shows because that's all there was. But yeah, those were fun.
How did they sound, Charlie, when they used their abilities?
Yeah, it was a precursor to
they fought like android bears and things. It was just so ridiculous.
When there aren't enough bears. But also, oh my goodness, I didn't realize. Again, is this TV? Was there? Logan's Run, was it? Logan's Run, which is a science fiction film from 1976, spawned we should have gotten a list that actually had some information, but actually had clearly a spinoff. I love Logan's Run. It's one of these in a perfect society, which turns out, just like with Planet of the Apes, which is also on this list, turns out to be a post-apocalyptic modern world thousands of years in the future. People live in domes where they dedicate themselves simply to banging, basically, and pleasure and stuff like that. But everybody has a crystal on their palm and the crystal goes off when you turn 30, and then you have to submit to ritualistic public display of suicide, where they blow you up
because they don't like the olds.
They don't like the olds.
Yeah, exactly.
And then and then it takes it seriously. It's Michael York, who was then in the Austin Powers films, and later he was Basil Exposition, and the superb Jenny Agutter, who was in the American Werewolf in London. She was also one of the council members in the Avengers movie, so she's in the MCU. But yeah, I love this. I would imagine the series
season, 14 episode, Charlie.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it just a rehash? Did they continue? Because at the end of the film, they discovered exactly what I said, that like, well, this is really our world, but outside of the dome, there's a ruin. They go to Washington, D.C. and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. But again, even higher up on the list is the Planet of the Apes, which was from 1974, which I get the feel, which again, same scenario.
They got some of the actors, though. Roddy McDowall was in it.
Wow. So. Yeah. They'd say it's a ruined Earth, and, again, the film films, which is supposed to be set in the modern films, were supposed to be set in the same chronology, was that, there was a virus, apes survived, people died out, and the ones that were there lost the ability to think and speak and blah, blah, blah. So the Planet of the Apes, how long was that one on for?
Oh, good question. Let me look at
Uh-oh.
There's not much here. Okay. It was, I can tell you, it was 14 episodes.
See, that was, a lot of these are some serious one-hit wonders, just like these next two, which are higher up the list. Battlestar Galactica, the original series from 1978, and its subsequent, let's use all the same props and make it cheaper, Buck Rogers, both by Glenn A. Larson on ABC.
And I loved Buck Rogers, the TV show. That was like my show. I didn't care about Battlestar Galactica. That was lame. I had Tweaky and Buck, and then Hawk joined the team, and then they left Earth, and they wanted a ship, and they did different things. They fired everybody from the first season and brought William Deary, and they said, "Let's go."
Oh my God! I get that's one, Charlie. And that's one. Let's see. I'm gonna look at it. Where is that one on at? Who shows? Oh, Tubi, your favorite. And what's the other one?
I don't even know. Yeah, the rights are a little bit odd. Yeah, Buck Rogers is one of those classic, radio and characters. So I'm not sure if I think there may be public domain. But honestly,
and it probably is. I love the original Battlestar Galactica is pretty corny. It was a direct Star Wars ripoff. They were trying to bring Star Wars to TV. It was too expensive for the ratings it got, so ABC gave it the axe after 30 episodes, which is funny. 30 episode first season, just like Star Trek the original series, which they also tried to cancel and they weren't successful. The original BSG had Lauren Green, Richard Hatch, Dirk Benedict. Herb Jefferson was Boomer, and then the superb Marion Jensen was oh God, I'm drawing a blank. She was superb. But anyway, the number one series, the one thing Marvel really got right in the 1970s was the Incredible Hulk, starring Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. Not at all based on the comic, because the Hulk was dramatically underpowered. He also wore green shoes, it was
David Banner, not Bruce Banner.
Yes. And so Lou Ferrigno wouldn't step on glass when he was running around L.A. or wherever the hell it is that they shot this. But it did employ one very important part of the series, was that, Dr. Banner was on the run. People didn't really put two and two together and know that he was the Hulk, but he knew that he couldn't settle down anywhere. So he did the kung fu thing. He wandered from town to town, got into adventures, helped people.
Very iconic theme song.
And while he's walking down the side of the road and hitchhiking, I was somewhere last week where I was pulling onto an on-ramp. There was a guy hitchhiking. I'm like, fuck no, dude. Are you out of your mind? It was him. Oh my God. I can't. He looked a little scruffy, but it's really him. Yeah. People don't hitchhike anymore. There's way too many.
That's an odd one. Yeah. A little sketchy. So great. And obviously the Hulk went on to do different movies and things like that, but was really Marvel's first true success on screen. One last, this is a show you should check out though, which is Kolchak the Night Stalker. Really cool, precursor to the X-Files. And actually they had Gavin, oh God, I'm blanking on his name. Darren McGavin was actually on the X-Files, kind of as a tip of the hat. Basically, he was a guy that investigated weird things, and it only lasted 20 episodes, but really influential on sci-fi television.
All right. Well, let's rock it through this movie/horror thing pretty quickly, because it's funny because there's a lot of adaptations that switched over, and a lot of quality. Yeah, we've got on this list, we got THX 1138, which was George Lucas's student film in 1971. So this was Robert Duvall and Donald Pleasance, about a dark dystopian police state. I have never actually watched this one. I'm gonna come right out and say it, but I should.
I did not either, but yeah, it was kind of considered George Lucas's debut and kind of his most iconic movie he made in regards to quality versus just commercial success.
Quality versus the prequels. We got the Andromeda Strain, which I feel like was the first adaptation of Michael Crichton's work.
I believe so.
Yeah. So I've not seen this, but this is a dangerous extraterrestrial microscopic organism, and the deadliness that ensues when it comes out of a downed research satellite. So sounds interesting. Again, Crichton gave us Jurassic Park. He gave us the Client, The Firm, all those really, high end, super duper big novel stuff. So that would be interesting. Yes.
I'm going to tell you though, the 70s, guess who was king of the 70s? Charlton Heston.
Oh, I would say Burt Reynolds. Yes, he was. He was, because yes, this next great film, which my uncle introduced this to me when I was a teenager, Soylent Green, which came out in 1973. Soylent Green is people. Yes, in an overcrowded New York City in 2022, which is funny because in 2022 we had the coronavirus, which killed a bunch of people in the last couple of years. So yeah, there are not 40 million people living in New York City as there are in this movie, but when you see him walking, he's walking, there's people, homeless people passed out on his stoop and stuff. But yeah, the thing that's keeping everybody going is that there's a synthetic foodstuff, which Charlton Heston throughout this film, because he plays an NYPD detective, that he figures out it's actually made out of people, coining the famous line. Yeah, coining the famous line of the same run. So yes,
there's actually a current drink you can buy, Charlie, called Soylent. Buyers beware.
I know, because the rep firm I work for did rep it. I know I snapped a picture.
I've tried it, and it's horrible.
It's it's made out of people. What do you want?
Well, I was going to say, the taste of people, you can't get it out of your mouth.
Oh my goodness. Moving on down, we already talked about Logan's Run, which came out in 1976. Loved it. Rollerball in 75. Don't really know that one. Or The Visitor, which apparently is about basketball and Cousin It. This is an Italian film just based on the picture. I'm going to Charlie a picture. That's why a picture tells 1,000 words. There you go. That's it for me. No idea why that made the list, but let's ditch it and move over to horror movies. Todd.
Wait, you missed like half the list, Charlie.
I know, because we're moving. We're trying to.
Okay. I will just go through these very quickly. Slaughterhouse-Five. I could definitely Kurt Vonnegut see that. Westworld. Obviously, we just got the HBO Max version of basically animatronics at a amusement park. Sleeper. Woody Allen. Don't know that movie. Silent Running. Interesting movie with Bruce Dern on a basically space station by himself. The Man Who Fell to Earth. David Bowie.
That's a remake. I don't know what list you're looking at. Did you go into the horror list?
No, there's a second page. There's page.
I crashed out. All right, well let's keep it going here. So
Close Encounters of the Third Kind, another movie to check out. And then if you remember, Sean Connery in a weird outfit. Zardoz, very weird.
That is on my list over on Hulu, because I'd love to see it. Because just very
Mad Max, Charlie. We got
late 70s
Australian fiction there, and then moving on to the last page, Boy and His Dog. That was an interesting movie about the basically post-apocalyptic, basically a telekinetic guy who could talk to his dog. Clockwork Orange, coming there. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. We watched that movie last year, I believe. Really cool movie with Donald Sutherland, a classic. Alien 1979, which was essentially a horror film, with them surviving. And then obviously Star Wars, we don't talk about that. And then another movie we don't talk about either. So let's move on. The 70s were great for sci-fi movies. So horror, though, were they as good?
You know what? They really were. Obviously, Alien falls on the list, but we did have Halloween in 1978. Jamie Lee Curtis, daughter of Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis, so Hollywood royalty, broke in this franchise, which launched a franchise, which was then decanonized into the films that we have now. But pretty cool. Dude in a creepy Captain Kirk mask, terrorizes and kills kids, and like I said, launched 1,000 sequels.
Great soundtrack.
No, you bet. Awesome. Exorcist in 1973. This was, oh my God. Yes, this was, what the hell's her name? It doesn't even say it in here. What is her name?
Reagan.
Reagan, but who's the name of the actress?
Yes. Blinking on her name as
we're in big trouble. But anyway, it's crazy. Yeah, you got the demon daughters spitting out curse words at a priest, and it's fantastic. I first saw this next film probably within the last 10 years, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Tobe Hooper, who was Toby. He passed away relatively recently, but low budget deal. Dude running around, it's exactly what you think it is. It's rural Texas and a guy with a chainsaw. What else do you want? We're talking about aliens.
And largely actually like not grotesque because they didn't show you much. So it was really your imagination leading to the path of like grotesque.
Right, and low budget, so they're not going to go too crazy with it. Alien, we already mentioned. I always say there's a great meme about it, which says the smart lady tells everybody what to do. They ignore her. At the end of it, everybody is dead except the smart lady and her cat. The end.
Don't trust an android.
Don't trust an android. Jaws, 1975, the first blockbuster
Is it still scary?
summer film. No. I mean, no, because there's the suspense because the thing jumps out of the water and it eats the guy. I know people who are crazy about this movie, like I'm crazy about Star Wars or Star Trek. I just don't get it. I don't know.
And it doesn't exactly have any good films after that. The first one was the iconic one. Everything after it was just crazy. It's like, and then the shark is chasing down people. It's like, how? Right.
But again, the first big summertime, popcorn flick, and his John Williams score, so on and so forth. All right, let's pick the hits.
Did you see Black Christmas, Charlie?
No.
I've never seen this movie.
That's all right. Carrie, 1976. This was a movie that was filming at the same time as Star Wars, so they had some cross-pollination in the read, so that's why William Katt read for Luke Skywalker. Carrie Fisher read for Carrie, but obviously the role ended up going to Sissy Spacek. And then, her mother, Piper Laurie, really reminds me of my first wife, which is super creepy. But great flick, and at the end of it, and also Nancy Allen and John Travolta are in it. Nancy Allen from RoboCop, who is his partner, Lewis. So, love that flick. And again, Stephen King is very big in this house, so we enjoy it. So, Amityville Horror, the original, which I feel like I watched this again recently. This is Josh Brolin's dad, who is James Brolin, is the star, and Margot Kidder, right after she was in the original Superman, based on a now debunked story about an old house in Long Island that was cursed. This family moved in and terrorized, spirits terrorized them and this and that. And 22 films based on the happening of this house. This is the first and best,
Charlie,
which means don't bother with the rest.
Did you see the trailer I sent to you and John? Amityville Horror in Space. It might be the best movie ever made for a budget of like $50. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Yeah, guys, check out Amityville Horror in Space. Maybe I'll put it on SFU because I think it's pretty
please
funny.
do.
Yeah,
I do. I feel like we totally saw this next one, Salem's Lot from '79 recently.
Charlie, I love this movie.
Yeah.
I remember watching it on Channel 50, like David Soul taking on vampires. I still think the head vampire, whatever he was, creepy as hell. I love this movie, and they're making a new version of it.
Of course they are. Dawn of the Dead, I adored because, I love the franchise. Obviously, we talked about the Night of the Living Dead in the last one, but this was the one that was in the shopping mall. Yes, totally awesome. No, that was in the 80s. We'll talk about that when we get to the 80s.
Never go to the mall. Let's not go to the mall.
In this day and the age, you're not going to get zombies delivering your packages from Amazon. You're going to be okay. They can't drive, so they're not going to be driving that Amazon truck up and down your street. It's okay. The 1976 gave us The Omen, which was the son of Satan. Great flick. I know I've seen this one a while back, but plenty creepy, kind of like Rosemary's Baby, Rosemary's Baby, the same deal. Have you seen Phantasm? I can't remember if I've seen it.
Charlie, it is very much a bad movie with a man with a ball that has these little Jawas that attack people. It's a bad movie series, but people love it for its camp. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I loved it. Again, I'm more familiar with the remake of The Hills That Have Eyes, which came out in '77, but it did have, who the hell? I cannot remember this guy's name. Michael Berryman, who's the weird looking dude. And he was in Weird Science. He was
when you don't have a special effects budget, you get this guy.
Right. You get exactly. He did an episode of Star Trek TNG early on. So, this was a Wes Craven film about a family, of course, breaks down as they're traveling through the Nevada desert, and mutant inbred cannibals come out of the hills and give them a little noshing. So
don't move out to the desert because there might be mutants.
Don't move out to the desert. Yeah, I'm skimming through. Here's a bunch of ones I've not seen. Todd, anything stand out to you?
I will have one. Yes, the last movie I want to speak to is the Trilogy of Terror, Charlie.
Okay.
I love this trilogy. It's essentially an anthology, but it's best known for the Zuni doll, which talk about something that's crazy, a little African doll that comes to life and chases this woman from his perspective. It's creepy. It's weird. I've seen this many, many times.
Oh my
Wowie
goodness.
wow. Check it out. And lastly, I would say The Stepford Wives, an iconic movie that's been remade. I saw the original. It's well worth watching.
Okay. Nice. Good
But
deal.
yeah, great time for horror. Holy cow.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, this was a longer list of stuff that you weren't like, oh, it's corny, and there's a corny drawn poster of it. But moving on, talk about a great time for toys in the 1970s. And again, Todd, you were born in 75. I was born in 76, so we were pretty young.
We didn't get to play with all of these, Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't, there's 30 items on this list, so we're just going to name them and go real quick on the Nerf ball.
Charlie.
Exactly.
I had a Nerf basketball hoop. Everybody had one. It was awesome.
Right. Good stuff. Weebles, they wobble, but they don't fall down. That's all you need to know.
Don't say skateboard. Skateboard? Like generic skateboard. The
I
skateboard
guess.
corporation.
Oh my, yes, exactly. Evil Knievel stunt car. Oh my God, the Etch-a-Sketch. The Etch-a-Sketch.
Yes.
Well, it says in 1960s, but whatever. The Pet Rock. That summarizes the 70s and in no way than anything else could. What a stupid.
I didn't know
thing.
what a Pet Rock. I mean,
No.
my parents didn't know what a Pet Rock. I think that was just like goofy. But Pong
You
exists,
think?
and my
the
neighbor owned a Pong.
First commercially successful video game. Yeah, it was just playing, just hitting the ball back and forth. Totally awesome. Why not?
And Stretch Armstrong, Charlie.
$1,700. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Stretch Armstrong. It was a stretchy toy, and I think like any toy, you find a way to destroy it. I think there was probably nuclear waste inside, and that's what made it so stretchy. Ooh, Todd, Micronauts, wasn't that spawned a Marvel comic, didn't it?
Well, and it's really where Mego Corporation apparently tried to create something cool. They made a Marvel comic out of it. But Micronauts, they were magnetic, I think, too.
Right.
I never cared about the Micronauts.
No
Stop
kidding.
making Micronauts happen.
Yeah, it's fetch. Mattel's electronic football. There's a classic piece of junk that you had little dots that move up and down a field and buttons to try to control them. I wouldn't have any idea what to do with that. But what I would know what to do with is Simon, the Simon Says game. 4 colors.
We all owned one. I think that was part of like you were just given one when you were born.
Push them in sequence, but also this was one we had, and obviously in the 80s from Texas Instruments, the Speak and Spell.
Oh yeah, Speak and Math. I had the Speak and Math and Speak and Spell.
It was like Dane Cook does in a routine of his. It's speak like the devil. Hello. Yes. You must push my buttons. You must love me. Oh my God. Star Wars action figures. I think I've heard of those. Yes. Came out in 1978, a year after the film, and it was the famous story is in the Christmas of 1977. Kenner couldn't get their act together and had to issue mail-in certificates on carded figure boxes that you would buy at your Kroger's or your Kmart or Kresge's we had in Detroit. But yeah, launched real action figures as they are today, and there are still diehards that love those.
Created like franchises and merchandise.
Sure did. And George Lucas was the guy who that's how he got paid. He wanted merchandising, and
he loves merchandising more than he likes making movies, folks. So
you bet. Yes. Just look at Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. So then we got Light Bright, which was still live, and I basically took a piece of black paper, put little light sticks in them, and you could make creations that would say boobs. That's what everybody did.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's pick up the pace. We got Rubik's Cube. We got the $6 million man with the missing eye. You could look through him like a telescope. I remember that from the 40-year-old virgin. Boggle, which was a game that madlessly popped up if you didn't do something in the right amount of time or something like that. Ooh, featured in the current season of Stranger Things, Connect 4. No, excuse me, The Boys. It was The Boys, yes. Yeah. And I loved Hungry Hippos.
I was at Dave & Buster's, Charlie.
My God.
They have a massive size Hungry Hippos.
Oh, you have to flip the switch. Rock'em Sock'em Robots, we talked about these recently, didn't we?
No.
We totally did something.
Because they were introduced in 1965.
Oh, there you go.
So yes, we talked about. So beyond that, we got Battleship. We've got beyond that Easy Bake Oven that my company we've had a part in that with the Betty Crocker Corporation. Shrinky Dinks, we all made those. Charlie. Spirograph. which was, creations of pens and in a wild pattern. We have Ants in the Pants because everybody loves that. And then
Right.
other than that, Slime was the
Oh
last
my
thing
God.
that was
really
made.
survives to today. Kids, I remember this from nieces and nephews and even my kids, that Moon Slime stuff. Still, it's still a deal. Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, we're taking it home with cartoons from the 70s. We already touched my favorite one, which was the Super Friends / Challenge of the Super Friends, which is also on this list. But yeah, this was the real dawn of the Saturday morning cartoon. So yeah, it was, ABC's got their, from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Yeah.
Maybe Looney Tunes showed up, some really bad properties, low animation, but you got some live action stuff. And yeah, we'll go through this really quickly. The ones that really popped out at me, Charlie, Captain Caveman in the
Nice.
What is going on there? Why was this guy created? He's weird. He was in the most recent Scooby-Doo movie that we just saw. Casper and the Angels. So obviously we just teamed up a classic animated character with angels that were sexy ladies.
I like sexy. And yeah, a lot of the stuff is just right over my head. The Funky Phantom, which was another Hanna-Barbera. Filmation's the Ghostbusters. Now it's funny, my friends who do run the various Ghostbusters clubs around the state, when they bring a TV, just like we bring a TV to show old Star Trek episodes, they're dying for content. So they're not going to show a whole movie. They will show the real Ghostbusters from the 80s, the one that was based on the films. And then I remember last show I was at, he was showing this as well. And I was like, what the hell is this?
Why would you show that? Yeah, the Ghostbusters live action, which became a TV cartoon in the 80s. Horrible. I mean, if you're going to bust ghosts, you might as well do it with an ape.
I suppose, is very disarming. Harlem Globetrotters. Now, this eventually tied back to Scooby-Doo, which tied back to Batman and Robin, a la the Super Friends. And who doesn't enjoy little Sweet George Brown? It's good stuff.
Yes, but it's better to team them up with Scooby-Doo versus their own thing.
No doubt. Josie, I'm skimming through a lot of the scrubs here. Josie and the Pussycats spawned a quasi-entertaining film in the early 2000s. But yeah, your first real girl group, and were dressed exactly like you would expect with a name like that. So, but it was fun. Sid and Marty Krofft, this is your jam. Were they Canadian, or do I just think they're Canadian because they get mentioned in a B&L song? I don't know.
I think they are considered Canadian, but yeah, the Krofft Super Show. I mean, we've got like HR Puffin stuff. We've got Lidsville, all of those weird like Electro Woman and Dyna Girl, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters,
Magic Mongo.
It was just really bad live action stuff that apparently kids just craved anything that wasn't just like Westerns and like bad, like Leave It to Beaver. They were just craving it. So we were not of an age to actually have to be forced upon that, Charlie.
We weren't tweens really, or
we escaped the 70s.
Between the ages 6 and 12. Well, one thing that I know, just because I'm an enormous fan of this dude's music, is Mission Magic, which was a spinoff of Rick Springfield's early career before he really hit it big. Rick Springfield has been making music for 50 years. But he only had his first actual hit after he'd been making music for 20 years. So he languished through everything. He worked for Universal Studios, was in bit parts in Wonder Woman and The Incredible Hulk and whatever it is. But he got this in 1973. It was an animated property around kind of enhancing his image, and he was a cartoon and living in an alternate universe and doing with the teacher named Mrs. Tickle. Okay, wow, knowing because I've read his biography, that's really not
Charlie,
something I want to go into.
I'm going to take a page of yours and saying, moving on to the end of the show. Yes.
Oh, Shazam and ISIS. Well, I thought now that was a live property, right? Because it had the
Shazam and ISIS were both live and they were both horrible. I mean, Shazam going around in an RV solving crimes.
Right.
Not a good decision.
And the absolutely beautiful woman, Joanna Cameron, who played Isis, passed away recently. But I believe this was about her only film credit, but she's pretty she was magnificent in this, I believe. Yes. And then, of course, go ahead, please.
Oh, no. If you have more to add to the
No.
70s.
I was going to jump into my love for the Super Friends, which again, it was on from 73. It ended. It came back. They changed it. All new Super Friends are Challenge of the Super Friends, World's Greatest Super Friends. It went on to the 80s where they tied in kind of with the fame of the Superpowers line, which was in like 84, 85. And that was the greatest of the dynasties. And that gave us Wendy Marvin and Wonder Dog, which were replaced by the Wonder Twins. The Wonder Twins, which can't hold their own enough even to make a TV movie. So yeah, all annoying teen sidekicks, even if they're weird aliens, just is not going to crack it. But yeah, I don't know, Todd, that's it for me. You got any of these others that really jump out at you?
No, I mean, one thing that we didn't talk about exactly was Wonder Woman. I don't think we even mentioned that Wonder Woman.
I don't even know how that wasn't on the list. It should have been in the top 10.
That's weird, but that was like kind of really like the I would say that was a big part because I think of that Wonder Woman show, the Bionic, Woman, the $6 Million Man.
Right.
Those shows were kind of like us getting our superhero excitement on.
And it was funny because it was a genesis for both of us separately. Even though you're more of a DC fan than we both really stumbled upon Marvel Comics as our mainstay. Even though what was really in your face in the late 70s through the early 80s was DC.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Marvel just had little touches of brilliance. But for me, Marvel, it was because they published Star Wars. That's really what got me. Yeah. But DC, even to this day, just seems sillier, I guess, than Marvel characters. But
it's so funny because everybody's like DC's so like grimdark, and like it's so weird. Like Marvel to DC was large part was just always silly and goofy.
Yeah, so, because they had Captain Boomerang and stuff, and a bunch of different people named Captain, Mr. Freeze, and the 66 Batman series. Anyway. That's wild. So that's the 70s. We are back next week with the 80s, and we're going to have a special guest who lived it a little bit more than we did. So that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. But Todd, that takes us to the end of the program.
It definitely does. And if you have memories of the 70s, let us know. If you have thoughts about the 80s, let us know, because we're going to try to figure out a way to really condense this and really focus on some unique memories. Because we did like a wide net. 80s gets broader, so it's much more successful versus 70s.
Got to drill down exactly. So anyway, Todd, where do people find you out there on the internets?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Toxtra. I'm out there trying to cultivate interesting opinions and talking to folks and just kind of spreading the love about Secret Friends Unite and making new friends and bringing them onto the fold. Other than that, I would say check out our YouTube page because we're really putting out some awesome content there. What you listen to is what you'll see here with awesome backgrounds, bad reactions, and also some stuff we're putting out there. Like we just found a old video of Bobby Paul's from episode 36 where Charlie was podcasting from a bed.
We did. Yes, we did. I was that was in the more intimate days of Secret Friends United. What can I say? But anyway, you can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Spell it out. My wife April and I also run the USS Grand Petoskey, a chapter of the International Star Trek Fan Club here in West Michigan, where we're always looking for new folks to get involved in the stuff that we're doing and chatting about Star Trek. I also try to populate the Secret Friends Unite Facebook page with fun content, but I always want to hear from you guys, so hit us up on the Twitter, the socials, and what have you. But that's the show, friends. Thank you as always for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In the truck.
I love you, but you're all terrible.
Captain Caveman!
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite.